Hello friends, I'm Amanda Barr.
And I'm Rebecca Lou Brennan, and welcome to Dance Principles United, the podcast.
Together, we are passionate about helping studio owners with the business of running their studio.
Join us as we talk everything from marketing, systems, studio culture, motherhood, life, and everything in between.
This is the Dance Principles United podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dance Principles United podcast. We are here in the studio. I've got my new Dance Principles United shirt on.
I know, I should have worn my jumper.
We could have twinned.
We could have
twinned. But I'm here with Bec. We are excited as always to jump into another podcast episode. But before we do, what's been happening, Bec?
What's been happening? Just so busy with life, Nath. BB's just doing so much stuff now, which is amazing, but I feel like just managing her is a whole job in itself.
Yep.
And then just
a poorly paying job at that.
Yes, exactly. But she's doing lots of cool things, so I'm very proud of her. But it's a lot managing her and all the other kids, and all of the things.
Oh, and I think that's sort of something we talk about as well. Like, obviously, you're talking about your child that's heavily invested in the dance world. But, Amanda and I last night had to go and pick up Sally at 9 o'clock, and it's that 20-minute drive to the studio, and we're both like, you picking up or are you?
Oh.
It's a lot on parent. And that was after you're trying to get the other kids to the other thing. I think it's sometimes, we always talk about making sure that we are having empathy and understanding everything that families have going on, and that when we do lots of things in our studios, are we always thinking is this in the best interest of our families? Because there's so much going on, right?
Life is crazy, and I definitely didn't realize that before I had BB. Before I had BB, I just thought that everyone was obsessed with dance like I am, and that they should just be there and they should do that, and how dare they be late. And then as soon as I had BB, it was just kidding.
Yep.
I was even saying this yesterday to some of our SJC members, Nath, I used to make people do the craziest hairstyles.
Yes.
Until I had BB, and she hated getting her hair done. She hated even having her hair brushed, let alone getting her hair done.
Just like now, right?
A little bit different now. But you know what I mean? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm making these parents get up at 5 a.m. and do crazy hairstyles for this comp with these little people.
Yep.
You don't realize that until
exactly. And like I said, we've both had sick kids at home this week as well. Ugh. There's been it's been a week. It's been a week, but we are excited to be here. That's not what we're talking about. It's not the poor Bec and Nathan story, because woe is us. Poor us. But we are here to talk about, as I like to get here and nerd out and talk about numbers and money, but it's because I'm passionate about dance studio owners making the money they deserve and being able to make the profit that they deserve. And a big event that should be profitable for studios that sometimes we know isn't the case always is our end of year concert being profitable. And I think sometimes, it's something that we always talk about with anybody that we work with, is that our revenue tap turns off for 6 weeks. After concerts, obviously no classes. Yes, sometimes we run workshops and things like that, but for at least 4 weeks, at the very, very least, and quite often 6 to 8, we turn that revenue tap off. So we've got to make sure that our concert is a profitable event, so that we're at least putting some cash in the coffers to cover rent and all those boring things. But also, you've worked really hard during the year. You've taken a lot of risk by putting on this concert, and you deserve to put a bit of money in your pocket as well.
The amount of work we put into concert, Nath, is just insanity.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I used to not make, or barely would make any money off my concert.
Yeah.
And it was this epic event, ridiculously epic, where we had a whole story that went through it and did all the things and put so much time and effort into it, and barely any money made off it, if any.
Yep.
It's crazy when I look back on that now.
Absolutely. And that's sort of what we wanted to touch on today, because it's as always, we sit around and jam about these things over Zoom and then sometimes over lunch when we get together in person like this. But talking about making sure that when we're trying to make our concerts profitable, that we're spending our time and energy on the right things and not the wrong things, because that's something we see all too often, right?
Absolutely. So write things as in, well, controversial I'm going to be, but I used to run so many rehearsals for concert. It was insane. So we used to do, I think, 3 or 4 rehearsals at the theatre. I'm not even joking to you.
Yep.
Plus I used to do rehearsals weekend after weekend after weekend at the studio because we had the whole story through the concert and everything had to work beautifully.
Yep.
There's so much for families, for a starter. So much money spent on rehearsals because you're not just paying for the theatre, you're paying for your staff on the day, you're paying for, the techies, you're paying for it's insanity.
Yeah. And
I can't believe I used to spend that much money on that stuff.
Oh,
it's crazy.
exactly. Because as with anything, when we're talking about profits, there's 2 main areas we look at, right? We look at the revenue, the money coming in, and we look at the expenses, the money going out. And like you just talked about, if you are paying for rehearsal days or multiple rehearsal days, that can literally be $5,000, $10,000 plus out of your pocket. And I know there's going to be people sitting there listening to this thinking, no way, no way, no way, no way.
Yeah, I was that person.
Like little nervous twitch going on. There is no way I could ever do a concert without it. Like I understand that train of thought without a doubt. But the thing that I always challenge people to think about is, okay, so like what value is it adding? And like always thinking like, okay, is it taking, because we're talking about like whether you do, for us, it used to be 20 weeks worth of end of year concert routine prep in class.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got to the first year that we didn't do a rehearsal post-COVID, we sat down with the staff and talked about, okay, so like you've had 20 weeks of class time to work on that, which is 15 plus hours of class time. When you come to the rehearsal day, the reality is, because we had such a big studio, you get 4 to 5 minutes on stage with these kids. Is that 4 minutes on stage adding any value or what level of value is it adding from those 15 hours of class time that you've had with them? Is it going to take the routine maybe from a 9 to a 9.1 out of 10? Maybe. But is that then worth you as a studio owner having $5,000 or $10,000 out of your pocket?
And that's the clincher. And that's the thing that I think I had to really rethink. And I was, because we'd always done the story through it and done the epic things, right? And I'm talking epic, Nath, like we would fly Peter Pan in and, like it was next level.
Yep.
Okay, it was huge. So when COVID hit, I had the choice to change that up or not. And it really was money-based, but also – okay, Peter Pan had a great concert experience. Let's be real, but
got to flying it on wires,
right? But it's such a small group of those kids that had the main parts in the concert. Yet everybody, like that little 6 and under, still had to come to every single rehearsal. Had to go through. Like it wasn't really what was best for everyone. It was actually just what was best for that small group of kids who were committed, which is silly as well.
Yes, and possibly your ego as well?
Oh, 100% for my ego. 100% for my ego. So, yeah, I think you just have to start thinking about your worth and making sure that you can make money for yourself and your family. And you've got to change your way of thinking on that, because my worth always used to be ego driven, but also, I thought that everything was so important for me to do for the kids. And it is, I do love the kids, but I also have to love my own family and my own kids.
Yes.
You can't sacrifice one for the other.
No, and I think sometimes people mishear the message that we try to say in these things. We're in no way saying that you should be reducing the quality of your concert, because it's a super important marketing tool.
Yeah.
We always talk about how important it is for re-enrollments for next year and for you wanting to have a quality product. And I know that Paul's concerts are always epic and uber high quality. And you're never talking about dropping the standard of that.
No.
But you're making sure that you, like I said, that you are doing it more intelligently, that you are focusing on your staff all the way through the year, because that end of year concert routine is about all of that class time. And if they need that 5 minutes to make the routine better, well, then that's probably something you should have been looking at throughout the year. So making sure that you're focusing on your staff and supporting them through that to make sure that that end of year routine is going to be the best product it can be.
It's funny because you and I, and this is a little bit off topic, but anyway, you and I have the complete opposite now, where we're watching dance concerts.
I know, it's so weird.
It's so weird, isn't it? And mine's not because I've sold my studio, obviously, but mine's because my nephew and our stepson, well, my stepson Josh, dances at different dance studios.
Yeah.
They live in different areas to pause. And it's so weird going and watching another person's concert.
Yep.
And seeing it from that parent perspective. And I said to our some studio owners this week, go and watch other people's concerts if you
Yes.
can, because it really will make you self-reflect. But you were saying, like, you know, you're lucky because you've got the 3 girls, so you do get to see more routines. But if you've got one child who's doing 1 or 2 routines in the concert, it's actually so boring. It is. And I love dance, Nath. I am addicted to dance. I watch dance on Instagram 24/7. I would watch dance more than anything else. I'm obsessed
Yep.
with it. But I wanted to poke my eyes out watching the concert, and they weren't bad concerts. They were a really great level of concert.
Yep.
But and, you know, imagine like,
Yeah. I think that's just a super important thing to think about. Like I said, like we always look at it through our eyes and our the context that we bring to it. But like you said, and it's a controversial take, but the reality is that a large percentage of your audience actually don't enjoy watching the concert. They obviously enjoy watching their child, and that's what really lights them up, and that's what keeps them coming back. But as an overall production, it's something that maybe that really doesn't light them up, right?
yeah, the Tims of the world
Yes.
can think of nothing worse than watching a dance concert. You
Yep.
know, it's torture to him, absolute torture.
And this was something else that, we talked about, obviously, like thinking about things like rehearsal days, but like other parts of the expense side of your concert that you can maybe think about to help, more money get into your pocket, to help your profitability come up. But one thing that I'm always super passionate about diving into with studio owners is getting out a spreadsheet, as you know that I love to do, but looking at what is the biggest lever we can pull in getting more money in for our concerts. And this is something that I think we're going to dive into a few like silly things that you've done in the past, maybe that, we try to do because we think, we might be able to bring in a couple of $100 here. But the reality is we need to focus on selling tickets.
Yes.
Because that is the biggest variable to us bringing more money in and making more profit. So what I always like to do, and you might not nerd out on numbers as much as me, I know, but if you don't, start this year, or if you've done, you might have done a mid-year concert through TryBooking or something, go back and look at any other data you've got from tickets that you've sold and have a little look. If you've got 200 students and you sold 500 tickets to your mid-year concert, well, that means every dancer brought about 2.5 people to that show, right? The biggest thing that you can do to drive up your revenue and your profit is to get that 2.5 tickets per dancer up to 2.7. Well, you're never going to get it to 3.5 and things like that. But what are the things that you can do just to move that needle a little bit? Because we were doing this with one of our members on our call yesterday. And just like that, from a 2.5 to a 2.7, for example, those sorts of jumps, depending on the size and scale of your studio, can be an extra $5,000 cash in your pocket. And so what are the things that we can focus on to make sure that we get that increase in tickets? And I think what you were talking about, making sure that it's a great experience for the parents, as greater experience as possible for the parents and families sitting in the audience, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so important for us to make that a fun time so that then the next year they'll bring more people.
Yes.
I also think marketing it really well in your studio, giving invitations out, getting the kids to send invitations out, making a big deal of it. I was talking about this yesterday with some clients as well. The more hype you put around it, the more people will be invested into it. If there's posters up, if the teachers are talking about it to the kids all the time, saying how amazing it's going to be, all of that stuff. But yes, if they then go and it's a horrible experience and they're sitting through a 6-hour show, which I've experienced, myself, you definitely will not want to go back.
No.
Ever.
And even sometimes the grandparents might second guess. Oh, the dance concert. Oh no, I think I've definitely got something on that weekend.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that, like I said, you've got to do what you've got to do. Yeah, sometimes you put on 2 acts so that everybody's getting their time to shine on stage. But what can you do to make sure that that concert is the best experience it can be for Susie 1 class or Susie 2 classes family? And I think that's the lens that we need to often look at our concerts through. Don't think about it for, Karina Comp Kid. I don't know why I'm making these names up. Sorry, it's really bad. But don't think about it through those Comp Kids lens, because like I said, like Nathan and Amanda sitting watching the DS concert last year, we were like, oh, cool. Like we only had to wait 2 routines to see our kid again. We were engaged the whole time. We're like, cool, not a problem at all. But what does it look like? And when you're making lots of decisions about what your concert looks like, what does it look like for those 1 or 2 class a week parents?
I also think now we have such a shorter span of concentration.
100%.
We know that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know about you, Nathan, even if a movie goes for too long, like you're starting to get bored in a movie.
Yes.
This isn't an engaging movie with, multi-million-dollar budget. This is kids coming on and dancing. Like, I just think we need to be realistic about that.
Yes.
And thinking about people's attention. But yeah, if your concert goes for more than 3 hours, you need to rethink it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's including interval.
100%.
Yeah. And I think, things like having, like, we were lucky, like the venue that we always have our concert at, really nice foyer area, because you've got to get, and think about it, like if it's a 3-hour show, you're asking parents to get there an hour, 45 minutes early too, right? So they're there for 4 hours. So like we were fortunate enough, there's quite a nice bar area there. So parents were happy to drop off and sit and mingle and have a drink and things like that. So, we didn't have to do too much on the activation side of things, but of course we'd have the photo walls, the balloon arches and things like that, because I think it's really important to make it that whole experience for people. What I was talking about with some people yesterday was, if you go to any major sporting event now, if you go to an NRL or an AFL game, if you used to go to those 25 years ago, you'd rock up through some dingy suburban oval and dodge the beer cans as you got to the hill and sat there and sometimes listened to people get abused on the field and survival of the fittest and watch the game. Now it's all about the game day experience. It's about the activations. It's about this, that, and the other. Obviously, we don't have the budget of an NRL or AFL team. That's okay. But every sport that you go and watch now is about making that overall experience better. So, like, what are the things that we can do within our budgets to try and do that? Because, like you said, if I always say it's got to pass the dad test. If your concert can pass the dad test, and guys, dads aren't that complicated. Like I'm really gonna share the dirt here. We're not that complicated beings. If you say to me, if somebody says to me, "Oh, how was it?" I'm not going to go into a detailed blow by blow of what the concert was actually like and the technique and oh yeah, it was all right. That can be enough. Yeah. But if I'm sitting there bored, I'm gonna actually like have a bit of a whinge about it to the other dads.
Yeah.
And to when Uncle Steve gets asked me, hey, like I got invited to the concert. Like, should I come along to this? If my answer's like, oh yeah, it's not too bad. Uncle Steve's getting dragged along. That's okay. Like, and that's all about, like we said, we're just looking at like, how can we just sell those extra tickets? Because we're not going to sell it. Like, we're not going to be able to sell it externally to our studio guys. How can we get the people that are already in our orbit? How can we get the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents and maximize those ticket sales? I am
talking of ticket sales. I had a client yesterday say to me, or say to our group, oh, how much is everyone charging for tickets? I don't know about you, but that question really just perplexes me, that people just want to go, oh, well, you've got your ticket for $35, but so I'll put mine at $35. And I just said to the group, like, there are so many things that go into that. Like, your venue might be $2,000 to hire, mine might be $20,000. That's a very different ticket price. And like, what things should they be considering, Nath, rather than just going, what's Joe Blogs down the road doing?
Yes.
What other things should they be considering as far as that goes?
Yeah. So you've got to sit down and you've got to get all of your costs for your concert. So obviously the big ones like the venue hire, making sure that within that venue hire that it's including the staffing within that. So your own staffing for the day. So like how much you're going to pay the poor staff on the day, for example. Any decoration, like all those things, like the trophies, the medals, all of those things that you are going to be shelling out for the concert. you've got to make sure that you get that number in. We've got a great free resource for anybody. So if you're listening to this, we are about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but here we go. Anyway, we're about we're about to get our new website live. So we're going to put some links in the show notes here that there is a free resource there, the Concert Profit Calculator. And it's got like a training vid. I won't go into it too much on the podcast because as always, we waffle on and running out of time, Bec. But it's got a free like spreadsheet for you to calculate, and it's got a full training vid on all of those things that you should be looking for. How to look at all your expenses for the concert, how to then balance that out against things like your concert performer fee, which is going to bring you money in, and then helps you play around and, like you said, figure out, okay, like if I set my tickets at $35, how much money will I make? How much profit will I make? Oh shit, that's not enough. So then you can like go in and like, oh, what if I charge $40? Oh, cool. That's a bit better. What about 42? Okay, yeah. And making sure that when we put our ticket prices in, we're thinking they're also going to charge us a booking fee and things like that. So making sure that all of those things go into it as well.
Yeah, I think being educated on that and knowing your numbers is such a game changer. And there's so many times that you go, holy crap, I thought I was making lots of money, because that money comes into your account and you think you are, but there were so many expenses there before it.
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying about just putting ticket sales up $3, because like I have this memory at one of the concerts that I was at with, this poor studio owner running around trying to sell programs, right?
Yeah.
For $4, whatever the program was for.
Yes.
And I remember them being like, times are hard, buy a program. And I'm thinking, why don't you just put your ticket sale up $4?
Yes.
That is just such that is a crazy amount of work to put the program together, to get it printed, to do all of those things. And then you're running around trying to sell programs for $4. Just put your tickets up $4 and all of that work wouldn't have had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where like going into like I said, I don't want to bore everybody with the maths and things like that, but that's where we're just talking about like little numbers. Like we've got, when we're selling hundreds, sometimes thousands of tickets for the bigger studios, it's the economies of scale. Like you've only got to put ticket prices up by $1, $2, $3. And then if you can do that as well as getting that like tickets per dancer up from 2.2 to 2.4, like I said, you can make huge inroads. Like you can make thousands and $5,000 to $10,000 just by doing those little things. And that's where, like you said, like doing things like trying to sell programs. Like we do see, like what are some other things that maybe you've done in the past or that you've seen?
Sold roses, I can't even think now.
Sometimes like depending on the venue, like if you're able to run the canteen and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I think with any of those extra things you're thinking, oh, that's going to be a good way to bring in money, please make sure you zoom out and look at it from how much actual profit is that going to put in my pocket and how much work is it going to be.
It's also how much are you asking parents to consistently put their hand in their pocket.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of psychology that goes with that. You know, they get the costume invoice, then they get an invoice for the T-shirt, then they get an invoice for the extra rehearsal that you're doing, and then they need to buy this, and, like that pisses people off so much.
Yeah.
I would rather just have the ticket price and the concert fee, and that includes everything. As a parent, like I would rather not have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's it. Like if you do something like the concert roses and things like that, and you've got a great supplier and it's something that's really, really sort of ingrained in your studio, and you make $2,500 out of that for minimal work because you've got a good relationship with the supplier and it's something you both win from, awesome, keep doing it.
Absolutely.
But if you're doing something like that and you're ending up having to do a lot of the work, you're ending up having to do the running around, driving the day before concert to pick up a squillion roses, and then you make $250 out of it, they're the things that need to go.
Absolutely.
And like Bec said, like put your ticket prices up $2 and you would have made $1,000 instead.
And that's the thing. Sometimes I just think we just need to think smarter about that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Always about working smarter, not harder, and definitely knowing our numbers around all things like this. But we so appreciate you taking the time to listen. As always, we've got to like 20-something minutes without even breaking a sweat, Bec. And look, we only went off topic a couple of times, so I think... I think we've done well. I think Amanda will be proud of us sitting behind the screen there. But thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you haven't already, make sure you check us out on YouTube so you can see my new Dance Principles United shirt, and give us a like or follow on YouTube and all the podcast platforms, we would so appreciate it.
Absolutely. And reach out if you want that concert calculator.
Absolutely. It'll be in the show notes.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dance Principles United podcast. If you'd love to learn more from us, we have a special offer just for our podcast listeners. Go to the link in the show notes right now to get 2 weeks free in Dance Principles United Tribe. We would love to see you there.